Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
What's up, world? Live here with Eric Butler. My hair's out of control. How are you, Eric?
Amazing. How about yourself?
I'm doing fairly well. The weather has been kind to us Canadians in this area. So far, so good.
Feeling
How's
better?
the weather down there? Yes, I had some sort of weird 12-hour illness that myself and like one other person had, and then learning that a coworker was out for 3 days on a weekend. So I don't know what it was.
Not
I don't
the
know.
Omarion, not the new joint. The
Omarion, B2K virus.
Yeah, not that.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was the weirdest, like 12 hours of just like body aches and headaches and needing to sleep for some reason. I don't know what it was. It was stupid, but I survived. It's all. I started watching some very bad movie on Netflix called Tank. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's from the 80s. A military family with I think he was a sergeant major who owns his own tank from World War II, not an Abrams, whatever it is in World War II. It's escaping me from right now. But he brings his own tank with him to the new base he's at, and he just wants to retire. He's putting a bid out on a boat, and 80s things ensues. He gets in fight with a police chief who also is running a prostitution ring, and I fell asleep during that. So who knows what happened, Eric?
Well, I'll have to check that out. I actually do have Netflix. Well, I'm mooching Netflix. I don't pay for it myself, but neither here nor there. Actually, I'm not. I'm paying for it. Everything. Scratch that. Stricken that from the record. Sorry.
Of course. Everything is kosher, as they say. We're live on Getter, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you for Getter for having us on their lives capabilities, essentially. And let's get right into it. Conor McGregor and Geraldo are our top two stories. Our title stories. Conor McGregor now, he has since deleted his tweets about vaccine mandates, but I found it before we went on here. Conor McGregor said the other day, forcing anyone to inject something into their body they do not wish to is abhorrently wrong. I'm not against vaccines. I'm against not having a choice. God bless those who think otherwise. Now, Eric, I'm reminded that the new definition, and hopefully we can bring it up, of being anti-vax, according to dictionary.com, is being opposed to mandates. Have you heard about this?
Well, I've heard that they are certainly the definitions are fluid, right? Like they changed the definition of herd immunity. Remember when that happened a while back, and they changed it. So I'm not super familiar with this one, but we can't put it past them. I actually saw a meme just the other day, or I don't even know if it was a meme. It was just like a statement. Really, it wasn't. I guess traditionally memes are funny, but it was like if you have an old dictionary, keep it, because online they're just changing things as they see fit to the
they may have
narrative.
They may have changed it back from what I'm looking at, or that meme was a lie. Who knows? But it says of relating to or noting people, especially parents of young children, who distrust or are against vaccination. That's a little bit, even to just distrust doesn't mean you're anti something. I distrust, the tax registration, but I'm not anti-tax, I distrust where my tax dollars are going. That doesn't mean I'm anti-tax. So I'd be dictionary.com. Imagine being the one who started that website. It'd be quite the gold mine. And you don't even need to have like definitions sourced from anywhere.
Yeah, you just make them up.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, you just pull them.
Pretty sweet. I once had an argument with somebody about encyclopedias and how he claimed that they have some sort of special access to knowledge. To be quite honest, this argument came out of me saying that I don't believe that that's how many birds they say it is in that flock. It was like these birds travel in a flock of 1 million birds. And I was like, that's not possible. That's not how many birds are in that. And he's like, well, the source is Encyclopedia Britannica. And I'm like, what access to information does an encyclopedia have that other people don't at this point? And he was trying to tout like they have encyclopedia connections that nobody else has.
Like top secret classified information that it's like when Fredo said, well, it's illegal for you to look at these emails, so everything that you know about these emails you're getting from us. Like, it's right. It's bizarre. Especially today, maybe in 1992 Oh,
I went with 58.
I was I wasn't gonna go quite that far back because when I was young, we had the dial-up internet, and I think my parents still had those encyclopedias, with the ones with the letters on them, and you'd had them on the
Mhm.
bookshelf, and they were in alphabetical order. But I guess obviously the pros to this is you can update information, but it's become such a, I hate to use this cliche term, but a slippery slope, right? Like obviously you want to include new information, but you don't want to just change stuff because a blue hair on Twitter doesn't like it. But that's the world we live in now.
Some of them have become defunct, these encyclopedias, because obviously the internet killed the encyclopedia star. Here's some more from Conor McGregor.
Wait, just
been
really quick. So are you saying
Yeah.
he deleted these? I didn't know that he actually deleted these
Yes.
tweets. That's
Because for the audience,
troubling.
Eric and I message each other links throughout the week about what we want to talk about sometimes. And the link I sent you was no longer there. It's from his page. So this is his own tweet about, he's arguing with people about the European Union. And of course, he doesn't want to be locked down again. And it's the EU out in Belgium. I mean, the Irish don't want to be told what to do by the English. So let alone Belgian people telling them what to do is probably a really far stretch. So he's been arguing with some member of parliament. As you can see here, other parties waited to see if they could get enough seats to form a government. They failed to do that. Seems unlikely, the election. He said that's fair enough, but only if all is as it seems. I'd be interested to hear more thinking on it. So it sounds to me like he's going down the I don't believe this stuff anymore. And what he said, other than the anti-mandate thing, he said Ireland is one of the most vaccinated countries in the world, over 90%, I think he said. Why would we do another lockdown? It seems like we're moving backwards instead of forwards. Of course, you got the proper 12. You got him flexing. So I'm wondering how much of he deleted. It looks like he's focusing on the EU here now, as opposed to the vaccine mandates and his traps.
That's kind of disappointing, though. I mean, if anybody can, stand, as they say, 10 toes down,
Very good.
behind their statement, it would be Conor McGregor, right? Like this is actually, it's news to me that he deleted it, and it's kind of disappointing, bro. Like this is a guy who quite literally could, I mean, physically take almost anybody on the planet. And so I don't know what they have on him that he has been forced to remove these tweets and it wasn't even like they were outrageous, right? I mean, it wasn't, these are common sense things. I mean, there's a number of things that we can't even say on here that maybe would warrant deleting the tweet, but I just don't see it. But again, that's the world we live in now. It's actually really disappointing. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Like he didn't delete his tweets, but he was very like, on the fence, like, oh, politics. And it's like, yeah, dude, like they're taking their Tim Pool approach where they're like trying to be the, like Aaron Rodgers, that is. I don't want to mix these two up, but it's just like, why can't these guys stand on one principle and just ride with it? Like you won the game. You don't have to bend to anybody, but you still do it. And that's no shade to Conor. Don't at me, Conor. I'm just stating I'm a little disappointed in the deletions.
Did you hear that 2 other players got suspended from the NFL for misrepresenting their status?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that spawned all the, well, how come Aaron Rodgers didn't get suspended? He's got white privilege. The reason Aaron Rodgers didn't get suspended is because they knew what he was doing. They just didn't want to say it because it would enrage people. But obviously, I would hope that inside the NFL doctors' rooms and trainers' rooms are just like, yeah, he's not sick. So that was the misconception there, that he lied when he actually told them. His teammates and the league knew what he was doing. He got antibody treatment. He got the Joe Rogan treatment, which Dana White also got, and released a video saying how he's better, and 40 other people he knows that got advice from Joe Rogan are better. But I don't want to get banned here. So the NFL, I'll bring this up, suspends Antonio Brown, who's always been a troublemaker, but still plays for the Bucks. And I also saw comments saying that they'll get a lot of rest for the playoffs because they're on Tom Brady's team. Teammate Mike Edwards and free agent John Franklin will each miss their next 3 games. So does that mean he got released? I don't know. How would he miss 3 games if he's a free agent? The suspension comes after players were accused of...
At the end of the year? I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe. Accused of having misrepresented their vaccination status under the league's COVID-19 protocols. sparking review by the league, the Players Association. So that could mean anything. That could mean they never got it. Could mean that they got one and so they were fully vaxxed. Who knows? The review supported those allegations and found the 3 players violated the protocols. All 3 players have accepted their suspension, declined the appeal. Well, why not? If you're going to make the playoffs anyways, and you're already this rich, why even fight it and make more bad news for yourself? And you'll be good for the playoffs. Antonio Brown is really good. He sat out, I believe, a year already because he just, I forget what the reason was. He was on the Raiders and he sat out, and then they ended up releasing him. Something about refusing to play under his contract. I don't quite remember. I released a video once that said let the man play, but you know, he's no Colin Kaepernick, so I don't know why he couldn't just play back then. His attorney said that he is vaccinated, and he continues to support the vaccine for any person for whom it is appropriate. So that makes me think, Eric, a bit more that maybe he said he had multiple doses, but didn't actually. Because you could say that you are vaccinated and just be like, "What? I am." You're not lying.
Half-cinated, I think is what Kanye called it. Half-cinated.
Here's this as well. Suspension comes weeks after Brown's private chef told his chef narked on him and said that the wide receiver bought fake vaccine cards for himself and his girlfriend.
Okay,
CBS
that
News
is
not confirmed.
That is what I was gonna say, but I wasn't 100% sure. But okay. So if Aaron Rodgers says I've been immunized, right? Like,
yeah,
so you can be,
but that's true though,
which should be more,
immunity,
which should be more powerful or more meaningful than the shot, because the shot will not give you immunity. We know that. I mean,
not completely. No, we're not allowed to talk about this. Oh my god, it wanes.
Well, it's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. I get one every week. That's
fair. That's fair, Eric. That's what I've heard too. Every 3 months. That's the thing. At this point, I'm not even sure I blame the companies, because like you keep. If I made this analogy last week to somebody, if Lazy Boy Furniture says you need a summer and a winter couch and a summer and a winter reclining chair, is it Lazy Boy's fault that you buy it from them every summer and winter, or should you just not be listening to the person trying to sell you stuff? I don't know.
But also,
I don't know if we have anything else on this topic.
Well,
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that we are not forgetting that these people are quite possibly the most healthy, in the best shape. These are professional athletes. These are not rec center guys. These are not a creepy old guy at the gym. This is not like, these are professional athletes. They get paid to do this. I am not understanding. Somebody, a Fauci, Walensky, somebody, please help me understand why even a guy like LeBron James Jr., who's 17 years old, that he looks like he's 35. He's in perfect health. He can jump out the gym. They got him wearing a mask around his chin. And these guys who are quite literally world-class athletes are being coerced into taking this serum for what? Just so they could sell it to the rest of us. I mean, again, we're beating the dead horse. I've already said this 100 times, but it's like, these guys are not, this is not your high risk category. Now, let me stop before we get banned. Next, we'll go to it.
Well, since we're on vaccines, before we move on to Geraldo, there's this hilarious, I don't know what I was going to say, starting with but a hilarious story out of Italy where a guy wore a fake upper torso in order to avoid getting vaccinated. I wish there was a video of this, Eric. An Italian man thought he had an ace up his sleeve. Very clever, your Ron Steinbuck. Thought he had an ace up his sleeve, but was busted when he showed up for a shot wearing a fake arm, according to a report. The creative anti-vaxxer, which, remember, according to dictionary.com, means you don't fully trust it. You have to fully trust it, or else you're an anti-vaxxer. May have paid hundreds of euros for a silicone prosthetic, which he wore to the vaccine center in Biella, a town in northern Piemonte region near Turin. The Guardian reported a 50-year-old man who sought to avoid the jab but still get the so-called green pass signed a consent form and rolled up his sleeve for the healthcare worker, who didn't notice anything amiss at first. But when the woman touched the faux limb, she realized something was odd. Told the man to remove his shirt and discovered the trickster's strong arm tactic. Wow, this guy's so proud of his writing. Philippa Bua, 16-year-old, told the paper that she felt as a professional, adding that the color of the arm made me suspicious. Offended as a professional, and the color of the arm made her suspicious. It was well made, but wasn't the same color. At first, I bought the mistake that it was a patient with an artificial arm. First, I thought it was a mistake. That would be funny. The person just themselves forgets that they have an artificial limb. Maybe beneath the silicone, I've even put on some extra clothes to avoid the needle reaching my real arm, the user reportedly added. I don't know how you would get around that. I really don't. You'd have to have something so good that nobody can tell that it's an actual fake arm. That's just funny. And I believe you should call this man based or real G, whatever you want to call him.
But why? Okay, look, this has okay. Obviously, we are in these are war times. This is full conflict. Okay, not full conflict, not hot, bayonets and stuff. But dude, people don't want to do this. Like, why? Why is this so? It's just a money grab. It's more than money. It's power. I mean, if you got guys who are paying hundreds of euros to avoid this, when getting it would be free, that should tell you something, right? Like, people would rather
here's
spend
something.
money.
The Super Green Pass, you can also get the pass if you prove that you've recovered as well, which is interesting, which is I don't think you can do that in North America or Australia or England.
No, you can't.
Don't quote me on that, but you can't do that here.
Because, natural immunity is not real. It doesn't exist.
That's
the only
true.
thing that works is pharmaceuticals. And just for the record too, there's an article going around on Breitbart. I guess it's like Dr. Rand Paul did an interview with Fox News, I believe, and then I saw it because Breitbart covered it. Whatever, it's a media orgy, but Rand Paul said something, and everybody's cheering it, and I'm like, wait, hold on. So Rand Paul basically said, among other things, that if you have gotten the shot, or if you have already been infected, then you can ignore Dr. Fauci. Okay. And I'm like, all the comments on Instagram are like, yeah, shout out Rand Paul. And I'm like, I like Rand Paul. No beef there. But what about those of us who have not been infected and also didn't get the shot? Are we supposed to still listen to him? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's the Republican rhino thing of conceding the ground there, because it's no longer about your choice. It's about we should have choices within our non-choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not.
That's what people complain about.
I guess I could just well, doesn't matter. We can move on to the next one. I'm not gonna get us banned.
Listen to the verbiage at the end of this. The busted man's attempt would, quote, border on the ridiculous, were it not, quote, for the fact that we were talking about a gesture of enormous gravity. It is unacceptable in the face of the sacrifice that the pandemic is making the whole community pay for. It's his fault. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's get to Geraldo, who is, sometimes you make, the ACLU stood up for neo-Nazis. People. My point is the defense attorneys are supposed to stand up for the worst people in the world, no matter what the crimes they've committed, part of due process. But Geraldo here, probably not he's not being paid to stick up for Ghislaine Maxwell, but he made an argument in favor of her not being allowed bail. So let's take a look.
I am outraged by the Maxwell case. You talked about Darrell Brooks, the creep who ran over his girlfriend, then killed 6 people in the parade, and he was out of $1,000 bail. Ghislaine Maxwell has been in jail for 17 months for no bail. They gave her no bail. She is sitting in prison prior to trial, accused, get this, of events that happened between 1994 and 1997.
She's a flight risk.
A flight risk. She offered to put up a $28.5 million bond.
She's going to escape to a country that has no extradition.
So you take her, you throw her in solitary confinement.
Allow me to educate you on
solitary
the federal
confinement.
bail law.
17 months.
You're defending
17
a sex trafficker.
I am defending justice.
Sex trafficker.
The prosecutor in this case are guilty of political lawyering.
She deserves to sit in jail.
Because you don't even know she's guilty. How do you know?
Because she's a flight risk because she was hiding during COVID.
She was not hiding.
In the Northeast.
She bought a house
yes,
in New
she was
Hampshire.
$1 million house.
They holding
Let me educate you
because
really
they don't have a
quickly.
case.
Let me
They have
speak.
no case.
They have a
This
big
is the
case.
segment
They have
I'm
no
running.
case.
They're trying to try Jeffrey Epstein.
Here's the federal bail law. You're allowed, in 1984, Congress passed federal bail law. You're allowed to deny bail on 2 grounds: flight risk and danger to the community.
Where is
Flight
Ghislaine Maxwell going to
risk.
hide? Where is she going to hide?
Everywhere.
She can hide overseas because
She's been
nobody
living
knows
right
where the money
here.
is.
This is ridiculous.
Way to stand up for a
Injustice.
sex trafficker.
Mob justice.
One more thing is next.
Mob justice.
Here's the thing about that. It kind of seems like Geraldo came into that thinking, how can I turn this into an argument for some good television by randomly defending her? But if in the case that he's not, Eric, pretending as if she doesn't have places to hide, as if Epstein doesn't have all these places or didn't have all these places, or that she's somehow not nearly as bad as Epstein because she just, courted the women and organized the flights.
She's a victim of Epstein, apparently, I mean, that's what her defense team would say, but, she deserves that, I guess.
I don't understand. Maybe Geraldo's so old that he doesn't care how it comes off. And
Well,
that
he
he's
did.
just
He
there to
did
make good
say
television.
If you notice, he kind of went the Joe Biden route as well. It's like remember back when people still cared about the awful Afghanistan pullout, and he's like, "Well, this was in 1994." It's like, yeah, bro, but you these people literally destroyed. I don't know how many people's lives, and he's like, "Well, that was in '94. It was a long time ago." And then
Doesn't matter anymore.
And then he also, a couple sentences later says, "I'm defending justice," and that to me is like a Fauci talking point. Like, I am science. It's like, dude, okay, I get it. Everybody is you get a defense team, but for him to pretend, okay, innocent until proven guilty. Okay, fine. We can roll with that. We could be consistent on that. I would be curious to know where Geraldo would stand on Rittenhouse and all that stuff, but I digress. But he is pretending that this woman is just gonna live in New York City and go to Whole Foods and go to Trader Joe's and go to and from the apartment and just live a normal life in New York City. No, bro. That woman is obviously gonna fly to a far off land that you will not have access to, and you will never see her again. Like, I don't understand how that's even a discussion. Like, yeah, she's just gonna stay on the Upper West Side and take the.
She'll go to Paris.
Yeah, dude, this is Geraldo is it's kind of sounding like he might not. Yeah,
something to lose here.
Yeah, he might have skin in this fight or a dog in this fight. I don't know what the.
Okay, here's the thing. I've been working on my Ben Shapiro, right? Okay, here's the thing. Geraldo, you're a sick person, sick individual. Just because you say she's not going to fly away doesn't mean she's not going to fly away. Okay, that's the thing.
Exactly.
Do you want to, Geraldo? What are you doing, bro? I don't know what else we can do about that. I'm surprised at the trial. Like, I'm surprised they didn't give her bail. I'm surprised she isn't already gone or Clintonized, if you will. I'm surprised by that.
Arkansas is the term.
Of course. Do you want to go to union wants to give black employees extra days off for being black, or do you want to go to the conspiracy chart?
The union, because there's another the union. It kind of ties into that other story about Levi's and Best Buy, who were offering days off after the Rittenhouse trial, which I thought was a meme. I thought was a Babylon Bee, but it's real, and it kind of goes with what. Yeah,
well, this is Canadian content for you from our True North. If you want, like, True North is one of the people on our side, quote unquote, in Canada here. It's basically us and them, Rebel News and True North. Nice people there. Union considers giving black people employees 2 days off. Now, Sue Ann Levy, side note, used to work for basically the establishment newspaper, the Toronto Sun, but she's not establishment enough for them anymore. So I believe I don't want to put any words in there, but she's no longer with them.
Kind of like Barry Weiss, like how Barry Weiss was with the Times, I believe, and then like said one thing that was like kind of minorly based, like not she didn't put on a red hat or anything. She was just like, oh, this doesn't really make sense. And they're like, you got to go.
Pretty much. I'm not going to try to say the story, but she did work for the establishment. Now she works for the more sane people. An Ontario Employees Union, that's Canada, not California, will debate a motion this week to give black employees 2 extra days off to deal with the impact of racism in their workplaces, communities, and recent global events. So not just stuff that happens at work, which is probably nothing. Their communities and recent global events. Now, before we get into the rest of them, that would have to imply that other races of people do not suffer from racism in their community, and there are no global events that are racist towards them. So Asians not beaten up in New York. Nobody calls them racist things there. That's a global event. The whole
In San
Stop Asian
Francisco,
Hate thing.
they were definitely doing that in San Francisco as well, the Bay Area.
If we're going to go down this road, you could say Central and South American people. Stopping them at the border, very racist, obviously. So you could go do so many things, but we're only focusing on one race here, which is very interesting. The Black Caucus of the Association of Management. Why are there race-based caucuses? I'll never know. Professional Crown employees, blah, blah, indicate the motion follows an apology by the Ontario government deputy ministers earlier this year for the continued prevalence of anti-black racism in the workplace. Canada is so weak, there's just constantly government apologies to large groups of people. It represents 14,000 professionals, technical support workers, analysts, consultants, blah, blah, blah. Conference is coming up soon. A source who prefers anonymity said workers already have 3 days of compassionate leave. The source went on to say that the Black Caucus wants 2 additional days, pointing to a third-party review of OPS that found systemic racism and discrimination against employees who are Indigenous Black. So if they found systemic discrimination and racism, then why didn't they sue them? Maybe they did, but why? Like, you need more days off instead of just getting money in return or what have you, whatever the outcome may be. A June 3rd memo to all staff apologizes to the harm caused to black employees by the prevalence and severity of anti-black racism in the workplace. So just in general. It also apologizes to Indigenous employees for the pervasiveness of anti-Indigenous racism, to all other employees who face discrimination and harassment because of sexuality. So it sounds to me like they apologize to everyone, but the Black Caucus spoke up and they're like, hey, because you're admitting this to everyone, we would like black employees to have extra leave. There's no mention in the Black Caucus resolution of extending. Of course, they're not going to do it for other people. They don't represent them. So, Eric, what's the weirdest thing about this?
Well,
the fact that there's a race caucus, the fact that they want days off just for their race, or the fact that they don't care about the Black Caucus doesn't care about other races other than their own.
No, I think the weirdest thing is the vagueness. If you go all the way back up to the top where it says like, oh yeah, something in your workplace, something locally, or a global event. Okay, so a black guy gets pulled over in California, and now a guy in Canada is going to get 2 days off.
That's correct. Global events.
It doesn't make
recently though.
Okay, so obviously, I think we could both agree that this is mostly surrounding George Floyd, right? But where is the connection? They literally are just
Kyle Rittenhouse.
They've just okay, fine. Which still kind of stems. Okay, so not technically from George Floyd, but Jacob Blake, which is all one. It was all part of the 2020 riot, election year nonsense. Which, by the way, I also reread that Time article about the cabal of elites that fortified the election, and it's even more enraging now than it was in February when it first came out. But I digress. So besides the fact that they're just saying any global event that happens, you can get a day off because you're going to be sad, and outside of that, it's like, dude, these are the problems that you're creating, right? So you're foisting this racism on people. It's like, dude, I would be willing to bet, and now I can't prove this with any certainty, but I'd be willing to bet if you actually went around the town and talked to, was it Ontario, the city, Ontario, whatever?
Ontario, it's the state.
Okay, if you went and did like some man on the street and like what's the most populous city there? Toronto,
yeah.
Okay. And if you went and did some man on the street videos or interviews, how many black people would you find that are just downtrodden, that just need an extra, like it's completely made up. And I don't know what the end goal of it is. It's so that it's a classic situation of them creating a problem that they can then solve. I mean, we see it all the time, right? Like, look how racist everything is. We're going to give you 2 days off. Now you owe us. Now we've helped you. It's absolute insanity, and I don't think that it's just not real. It's like it reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where they're looking for a parking spot, and Kramer's like, "Yeah, well, of course, the handicapped people they don't even park in those spots because they want to be treated the same as everybody." It's like, why are you? Is it infantilizing? Was that what's going on? It's like they're and the soft bigotry of low expectations, as some might call it. It's like, why are you thinking that a black person is just so distraught by something that happens halfway across the world that they can't even make it into work? I mean, it's beyond bizarre to me. I can't make sense of it.
Let me ask you this. Let's say whoever you work for passes this and you have 2 extra days all of a sudden. Are you taking those extra days?
Of course.
Oh my goodness. Eric Butler's been caught.
Are you gonna? Okay. I mean, maybe I don't even understand the entire concept though. Is it's just random days off, like they're paid days off, like? Or
You see in Canada you get so many stupid extra days. You get like I looked this up once at my old job. If you want to take mental health leave, you do not have to tell your employee why or for how long you're taking it. You can literally just say, I am taking time off due to mental health, and you don't have to provide them a reason or a doctor's note. You just have to say that, and you're allowed to leave. I think it was up to 2 weeks. It might have been 10 days.
And you're not going to get paid for those days, though.
If you're on salary, yeah, you do. It's the same as any other day.
Wow.
Like the same as a sick day. You still get paid for that. There's 2 sick days a month in Ontario where you can just say, I'm sick today. You can't punish me at all. I'm staying home. I don't know what that is everywhere else. A lot of complaints from the lefties here are more sick days. Why? I don't know.
And what is this? Okay, so say they get these extra 2 days off. I mean, that's it. I mean, so now problem solved. I mean, like I said, like what are you supposed to do with those? So that's the end of it. It's like your pain and suffering from all this racism can just be completely solved with 2 extra days. I mean, it will never end. If you keep doing stuff like that, it's literally never going to end. It's like, well, we gave you those 2 days. That's all you're really worth. So, like, I mean,
true.
Are the goalposts going to continue to move? And so, okay, now you get 4 days, and now you get 10
and then
days.
It's not working eventually.
Yeah, and
in the year 2100. In 2100, all minorities do not have to work.
Yeah, it just that's where it's headed, unfortunately. But yeah, that said, yeah, I'll take the 2 days.
Okay. So there's this conspiracy chart going around. I wanted to find, there's a right-wing one that was created against lefties, but this was created by somebody named Abby Richards, and it's basically just things, if you talk about them, then you're a conspiracy theorist. So we can go ahead and start from the bottom. I don't know how clear this is actually going to be. It's not looking very clear. So speculation line. I wish I could find a better version of this. Let's actually close off. And I see Watergate's there, MK Ultra and stuff. The first thing is the speculation line and things that actually happened. But I'll go ahead and pop up on the tweeter and get one that's more easily zoomed in. Conspiracy chart. Everybody memes it. They're doing their own thing with it.
And I can only assume it's going to be completely backwards. I mean, I've seen one. I know there's a handful of them floating around out there, but I can only assume that it's going to be completely inverted to where.
Okay, this one's better. This one's easier to see.
Okay.
So we've got COINTELPRO, Operation Mockingbird, Big Tobacco lied about cancer. I don't know what Naira testimony is. Tuskegee, NSA mass surveillance. FBI spied on John Lennon, Bohemian Club. It's actually Bohemian Grove. So these are things that actually happened. That's the speculation line. And now we have questions. This might be... No, we'll continue with this. Free Britney, Marilyn Monroe, JFK, UFOs, Area 51, Princess Diana, Epstein didn't kill himself, Denver International Airport. So this is still stuff we have questions about. Now we're leaving reality here. Elvis lives, alien abductions, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot. Greta Thunberg is a time traveler. Aliens built Stonehenge, excuse me. Prince Charles is a vampire. Beatles never existed. Avril Lavigne replaced. Science denial, dangerous to yourself and others. Chemtrails, okay, that's kind of been proven. What is it called? Outer ionosphere aerosol injections or whatever it is. So basically, they've tried to do things to block out sunlight by injecting them into the atmosphere. Dinosaurs didn't exist. Shout out to Patriot J, who said that on a song. COVID-19 made in a lab. Okay, so this has been, I'm going to say, over 90% proven that COVID-19 was made in a lab, or at least, enhanced. Actually, I don't know what we're going to get away with here, but what's been proven is, or accepted now, is that the gain of function was made in a lab, and they made it so it can attach itself to lungs. So I don't know. COVID-19 made in a lab. That's kind of a stretch there.
Well, Andrew, do you have a Fauci? Do you have a Fauci impression? Because
No.
we don't know what may have happened. I'm sorry. Fauci just triggers me to no end. And for the record, what other profession are we really taking people seriously at 81 years old? Why does this guy get a pass?
Soy boys is apparently dangerous to yourself and others.
Well, that's true. I mean, okay. So as far as I can see, the pink one, the leaving reality, should at least be swapped with the science denial, because these are all more real than what Elvis lives, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, crop circles were proven to be farmers.
And remember,
Bigfoot,
what about
these ones should be switched. Look, government made diseases. You think the government doesn't make any diseases? It's called bioweapons.
What
you
about
think that doesn't happen?
Wayfair? Is that on here? The Wayfair?
Maybe we'll get to the top one, which is obviously way more things. Global warming hoax. I mean, they try to conflate here. Anti-vaxxers, dangerous to yourself and others. Believing Finland doesn't exist is dangerous to yourself and others, and is on the same level
5G?
as COVID-19.
Just
5G. And then they throw 9/11 in there. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. I wonder if you can be banned from anything for talking about 9/11 anymore. Or is that just like the JFK assassination? Nobody really cares how you feel about it. But here's detached from reality. Did the person's name on this? The person's name was on the last one.
It looks like there's a little watermark. I don't know. There's like a little watermark under the
Yeah, this has credit of Tofology. So it's not the same person.
Oh, it's a weird lefty. It's a tofu soy person. That's why they like soy.
So here is detached from reality, the anti-Semitic point of no return, and it says, "World ruled by supreme shadow elites. Once you believe one, you really believe most. Get help." So that's quite the claim. QAnon, deep state. I mean, the deep state is just people who have worked in the government for a long time and have lots of influence. I don't see how that's detached from reality.
The administrative state is real. Fauci is proof of that. Fauci has worked in the same position for 7 presidents.
Biden's, the Clintons, the Obamas have all been around for like 30 years now. So I don't get it. Elders of Zion. I'm not too familiar with that one. Celebs. What does that say? Moisturize with children's foreskin.
That's
what?
That's true. That's Gwyneth Paltrow. Was it Gwyneth Paltrow? No, that's no. Of course, the left, they're gonna say, oh, that was just a joke. It wasn't real. But I believe it was. Somebody will see this and say, "Oh, you're completely wrong. It wasn't Gwyneth Paltrow, but it was somebody. If it wasn't her, it was somebody like that." As racist as that might seem,
she was the vagina candle, wasn't she?
She did do the vagina candle, but there was somebody on Oprah, I believe it was a long time ago, where they admitted that the moisturizer they used was made from foreskin.
I hope it wasn't that John of God guy,
No, I'm not familiar with
sex
that.
trafficker. Flat Earth, reptilian overlords. See, this is how they conflate everything. Reptilian overlords, same as the deep state, same as George Soros, which we're still like, this is 2016 shit. Criticizing George Soros is anti-Semitic. My boss, Ezra Levant, criticizes George Soros all the time, and we have several Jews on staff. So, and they all say George Soros sucks because he openly funds district attorneys who are very far left.
And they're ruining California right now, as we speak.
Yeah, they're ruining a lot of places. White genocide. So, like, that could never be a thing, even though that's happened in Africa. It wasn't a genocide, but I mean, like, that's why there's no nuance here. Cultural Marxism is detached from reality. Okay. New World Order. I mean, we catch the people saying this stuff.
They literally
Bill
say
Gates,
it. Yes.
Bill Gates microchipping. Did you see the story out of Scandinavia where people are taking COVID microchips?
I did not see that, but it doesn't surprise me.
I'll bring that up in a moment. Holocaust denial, Wayfair. There it is.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay.
Illuminati, Sandy Hill fake. Like, how is Illuminati and, let's say, reptilian overlords, how is that the same level?
Well, this is exactly what they do, though, right? It's like when
Adrenochrome.
if you get fact checked, they'll say I think I was watching maybe I guess it was maybe Tim Pool or Drone Tech or somebody, and they were like, well, what the fact checkers will do is they'll conflate the stuff. So, did Donald Trump do a backflip on Sunday, and then
Mostly false on
mostly
Saturday.
false because he did do a backflip, but it was on Monday, not Sunday. Well, obviously that he's 80 years old too. He did not do a backflip, but you have to throw something in there that we know is untrue, so you can say that so you can conflate the two and then wipe it all out. It's a classic. I'm sure there's like some name for it, but it's typical.
Adrenochrome, Obama birth certificate. Don't ask me about that one. LOL. Antifa International starting wildfires. Well, they did prove Antifa dudes started some wildfires. Hollow Earth, Nazis on the moon landing faked, subliminal messages in children's TV from the ruling class. Well, like, we've all seen the compilation of penises and sex in Disney cartoons, The Lion King, and then the Aladdin cover. I mean, we can look that up right now, Eric. So yeah, it's like the old South Park adage where they would say, how did they get stuff past the censors? And their tactic would be put the most ridiculous stuff possible in on purpose, knowing that it would get taken out so that by contrast, the other stuff they actually wanted in wouldn't look that bad.
Yeah, this is so basically they have, I mean, it has been completely inverted. I mean, yeah, okay, reptilians or whatever. Well, I mean, there's a conversation to be had. What's the oh yeah,
Spelled sex in the sky in The Lion King. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. There's a handful of those, right?
Yeah, and then there was
the bikini one or like the
Aladdin cover, penis in it. I hope that I'm not getting in trouble for that. Yeah, you can see there. And these aren't fake. These are like known. Like, if you're on the internet for a long time, you know about these things. So that's the problem here. Is this person, judging by their Antifa, doesn't do this stuff, and George Soros, it's either somebody who's extremely like surface level into the news, or they're quite the lefty.
So what happened to Antifa? Where are they? What are they doing now? Are they showing up lately?
They're in France right now protesting somebody running for president there, I believe, doing a little bit of rioting at their person's rally is what I saw the last thing.
Because last year, right, we know...
This one says Abby Richards.
So this is the right-wing version, or...
No, I think this was the original version. Let's see if it's any different.
I like how they call it the anti-Semitic point of no return. Like, why can't it be the anti-black racism point of no return? Right? I mean, it's because
let's find her Twitter.
Soros.
Abby ASR. Let's see what she's all about. This is live fact checking on Unauthorized Opinions. Okay.
Oh, look, this is her claim to fame. This is her claim to fame. She's got it on the banner and everything. This is her thing.
Mis and disinformation researcher with focus on TikTok and conspiracy theories. So, shill is what I'm going to go with. Because, oh my goodness, the deep state, you're an anti-Semitic. Oh my God, George Soros, you think he does stuff? Anti-Semitic. What else was in there? Well, subliminal messaging, you piece of crap. But that's worse. Thinking 5G is, killing you is actually worse than researching George Soros. It's actually better. Thinking, what else? Elvis is real, or Elvis is still alive, or the Beatles never existed. That's better than actually, Googling what I just did and seeing that the Lion King had sexual messaging in it. Don't look into it at all, Eric, please.
I this is insane. I mean, we can I know for sure that George Soros is linked to the riots and the protests that we saw last year. Now, it might be more of a conspiracy to say that he's linked to the smash and grab jobs that we're seeing now, but I mean, okay, last year, right? Right after George Floyd happened, I went down to go talk to those protesters, and what did they say? They didn't mention George Floyd. They didn't mention Breonna Taylor, any of that. They started talking about Narcan, naloxone, opioid overdose reversal medication. And then you look into that and
As
you
you
realize, you look into that and you realize that it's funded at least in part by the Open Societies Foundation, which is
Oh, who's that, Eric?
that's operated by, I believe it's operated now by Alexander Soros, his son. And so you fast forward a year, and now we've got all these smash and grab jobs that are happening because these Soros funded DAs are not locking people up. So indirectly, he still could be linked to that. And the conspiracy on that would be that he is encouraging the smash and grabs to begin with. So he's part of it just by virtue of getting these DAs elected. But you could also say, if you want to really stretch it out further, say that he could be encouraging these people just as he was encouraging the people last summer. You see what I'm saying? So it could go either way.
And he also owns Taylor Swift's back catalog. Don't forget that. That's why she's re-recording it now, you guys, just so you're aware.
Tay, yeah.
I always add the important information. From some guy named Eric Butler, he wrote a story. Random metal detector screening at Brooklyn school finds 21 weapons a day. So you want to explain this a bit? Why was there a random metal detector?
Yeah. So in downtown Brooklyn, one kid was found with a loaded pistol. He showed up late. And one of the school administrators thought she saw a gun in his bag. So she called the police, and sure enough, he had a gun and $30,000 in cash. Now, we're all told that everybody's struggling and it's just impossible to make it these days. But somehow a 17-year-old kid had a loaded 9mm and $30,000 in cash. 17 years old. So the very next day, they installed, or perhaps the next night, but like when kids got to school the next day, they were forced to walk through a metal detector as a preventative measure. I mean, nobody was shot, nothing happened, but after this kid was busted, they put the metal detector in and they found a number of guns, brass knuckles, which are, I feel like that would almost be harder to find in Brooklyn than to get a gun, but I don't know. I'm not a criminal, so I don't know. Knives, all sorts of things. So not 21 guns, but 21 weapons overall in one day. And these are all illegal weapons. And so are we calling for more gun control? Are we calling for more? I mean, it's just so painfully obvious that those laws are not going to work. So if you can continue to limit what law-abiding citizens can do. I mean, in New York, you would have to jump through 6 million hoops and talk to an ex-police officer and do a million things to get a legal weapon, to get a legal firearm. But these 17-year-old kids in high school can get them, and they appear, and kudos to them for, I mean, I don't know if any of them are actual criminals, but they appear to be more restrained with their weapons than the rest of the thugs that are shooting up Brooklyn. I don't think that any of the kids that these weapons were confiscated from were linked to any actual crime. So it seems like they are. The point I guess I'm trying to make is that these weapons don't commit the crimes themselves. Like these laws aren't going to work. New York is still a madhouse, and no amount of law is going to stop a criminal. And again, I'm not calling, well, I guess by default, all these kids are criminals because all of those weapons were illegal, but they still get them. So, I mean, and not to beat a dead horse, but the fireworks from last summer that constantly trigger me. nobody wants to investigate that stuff. Like, how is this continuing to happen? And then you got Holchel jumping out the window saying, "Oh, there's 5 cases of Omarion," and De Blasio saying, "Well, we're gonna need to make sure that the 5-year-olds show proof of the jab, and we're gonna." I mean, and nothing ever happens. All they talk about is the stupid virus, almost as if that is their shield. That is their source of power. That is their shield. So people could get shot in Times Square. You know, bankers now, Wall Street people, and Midtown banks are asking employees to dress down for work so they don't become targets. None of that matters. All these kids have weapons and they only talk about the stupid virus. It's absolutely insane. And you see basically a carbon copy in Los Angeles, right? I mean, you could pull up Instagram right now and see 5 videos from the last 2 weeks of smash and grabs or just blatant armed robbery or any number of like violent crimes, and Newsom is still talking about make sure you get a booster. It's insane, bro. I don't know how to stop this. Well, I'm not a politician, so it's not my job, but it's
You will be one day. What
It's
I was going to
triggering.
say what I was going to say is this thing with the metal detectors. Every time a school shooting happens, unfortunately, there's always these solutions that people want to come up with. Of course, they say take away all guns, but most of the time, and even as we saw in the last instance, there were signs that were ignored by law enforcement and schools. And then people try to come up with other solutions, clear backpacks, metal detectors, and then they say, and then the pro gun ban people are saying, well, we could just ban guns. Instead, you're taking away a child's, freedom, and now they have to go to school and clear backpacks, and now everybody gets to see inside. It's an invasion of privacy. What they negligently or don't know is that in schools like this stuff isn't all that uncommon. Metal detectors at schools you can go back and even see in like movies. What's the song "Gangster's Paradise" is from? They have metal detectors in that school. There's been schools in the hood, Chicago, New York, and I want to say Philly too, where they've had pat downs, metal detectors, that stuff, going back to the mid to early 90s. So people live in this sort of delusion that whenever the media brings up something that happens at a school, unfortunately, tragically, 3, 4, 5 children get shot. Somewhere in a different state in America, 2 kids got shot just from a guy bringing a gun to school, and because it's gang violence, it somehow isn't supposed to be a tragedy. This stuff actually does happen a lot, whether it's, a brutal beating, a stabbing, those happen more often, obviously, overall, or a school shooting. It's just that the media chooses to exploit certain instances for their agenda, and it's very sad and it's very sick. And they also tend to exploit the ones that have the most preventability, just like they choose instances where they're defending the most criminality, i.e. Kyle Rittenhouse or Jacob Blake, who's trying, and don't let me get this wrong like I did last week. That was Ahmaud Arbery we were talking about last week. But it's like they choose to defend the most indefensible instances so that they can disintegrate the rule of law and at the same time disintegrate what we should care about and make it so that only the things the media points out what to care about is what we should be actually paying attention to. Whereas the metal detectors, the clear backpacks, the people being stabbed or shot at schools, it's been happening for a long time. And just because the media chooses to point out 1 or 2 things doesn't mean it's only happening at those things. And this is this massive tragedy that we now should definitely change all the gun laws for. Because now we have things that people may not have been paying attention to before happening, like in this article where they put up a metal detector and they found 21 guns because they decided to look at this certain day and time. This stuff could be happening all the time, but there could be articles about it all the time, but the media chooses to focus on certain ones to use for their advantage. And my point is that these things are happening everywhere, and it's a broader solution than just, banning guns, because as you stated, these kids can go out at a gun in a place where it's so hard to get a concealed carry license. You have to apply to the police, I believe, in New York City, but they can just go out and get one or bring a knife to school. And obviously gun legislation isn't going to help that. It isn't going to stop that. I don't know what the solution is in the interim, but if there's this much of a problem, maybe a metal detector needs to be a permanent fixture at this school, Eric Butler.
Yeah, and I think so. Just kind of to your point, the idea that this really didn't have, I don't think this was really related to the other shooting, which I will admit I'm not really well versed on. I just quit keeping track of it. It was in Detroit or Michigan or something. I'm wearing a Detroit hat right now, but this was like, to your point, this was just part of a regular Brooklyn thing. Like I don't believe this was even in as a response to what recently happened. This is just something that they deal with all the time. And another thing to like sort of echo your point is that there are schools, like if you go, I think I've mentioned it before, but if you go to the end of the L train, like Weeksville or Brownsville or any stuff like that, like the hood, like the notoriously like pretty crazy section of Brooklyn, I think they are permanent. But this is like supposed to be like a night, maybe not nice, but like downtown Brooklyn, a couple blocks away from the where the Nets playing. I'm blanking on the name now of the
Barclays Center.
The Barclays, yeah. Of course, you know it better than I do. But so this was just a random thing, and of course, there's no. I think honestly, maybe this is tinfoil, but I think they could get this stuff under control if they wanted to. But in New York, they would rather continue to pretend they're going to fix things just for something to do. Like there's no, like here in this nice little section of Arizona, I'm sure bad things happen. Like you're never going to escape any one bad thing happening. But it's like they want something to do. They want a reason to grab more power. They want a reason to sort of just do this busy work that if they fix the problems, they just wouldn't have a reason to ask for more federal funding and create more programs that need more federal funding. And lastly, and this is a little bit different, that they recently opened up that safe injection site, which I honestly thought San Francisco had already done that, but apparently it didn't go through, and New York was the first to do it. It was right across the street from a high school, and they say, oh, well, we're going to help out all the junkies by giving them a safe place to do this. But what they don't tell you is that it's basically a cover for them to deal more Narcan. I mean, the city and that Soros-funded Narcan project is quite invasive, and I think it's an issue that is just not getting enough attention. So obviously that strays a little bit away from the high school story, but that's just a picture of like how bad New York is actually doing, and it's disgusting. And Eric Adams is not going to fix anything. He is a puppet. I don't know if you've seen one of his recent press conferences where he literally says, anybody who thinks we're going to change our stance on vaccines is wrong. It's like he's just doubling down on the dude, he ran on a platform of public safety. Kids are getting caught with these weapons. People are getting shot up. So there's targeted attacks, like where if you look, like in LA, it's happening too. If you look like you're rich, then they're going to attack you. But then there's also random attacks. And then the random attacks also have, innocent bystanders that get hit. The targeted attacks have innocent bystanders that get hit. And all that's happening, and the guy who ran on public safety is still talking about vax mandates. It's insane.
Are there armadillos in Arizona?
Probably, but I'm not
sure. You were
sure.
talking about the beautiful Arizona, No,
I was thinking a scorpion on a hike.
Oh no. There's a movie out about when Obamacare came out and they started this gold rush of getting people into rehab and stuff and getting paid per person you bring in. And obviously you want them to reoffend so that the institution gets more government funding. And I was thinking about that watching Intervention the other day, where they fly this kid out. This kid was smoking Oxy in his bedroom of his parents' house, and with the door open, and they'd come up to him every 20 minutes, like, "Don't you think you had enough for tonight?" And he'd be like, "Leave me alone, Mom and Dad."
Well, do you smoke that? I don't even know how that works. You smoke?
He was smoking it off a tin foil, like basically a crack or something in a pipe, and he goes to rehab for like 9 days or something, and then comes out. And you got to think, like, this woman who works on Interventions getting paid by the show, and she's also probably getting paid by the facility because it's government run, and probably every patient they take in, they get a lump sum of money, and she gets a cut. And that's the problem with government run programs like this, is it's supposed to be for health, but too many people get kickback. How else are you supposed to do it? Yeah. Because even if you say, this is the cap of what you get for a year. Let's say $1 million a year, and then you bring in 100 people, and you're just like, well, we can't take any more without any more funding. Anybody who says no to that is going to supposedly look like a monster. So there's got to be this weird fine balance, and it's really tough. But that's why capitalism has failed us. No, I don't know. Eric Butler, TatumReport.com. Thank you for joining me again. The podcast is flying off the shelves, especially on our social media. 20,000 views here, 40,000 there. People like the Big Bird stuff on SNL. People like the anything George Soros. Here's his latest article on TatumReport.com. You can go there and find his face, as you notice. And you can also go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and get New York City 2020 Gotham Unglued. I have it behind me. Eric sent me a different picture of a guy, not from his book. We pretended, or we didn't pretend, we tried to predict whether it was a homeless person, stack of tires, or a corpse. I thought maybe a mannequin or just a person wrapped up sitting in an office chair, not unlike this, but it's on Amazon, anywhere you can find it. My latest episode is with Chandler Crump on rebelnews.com. Let's Go Brandon put him on the charts. He's got a new song called I Saw Biden touching little kids, and the theme of I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Very funny. He's got a lot to say. He's got a lot of ideas. And at the end, I was just like, Chandler, what do you want to be? Grow up, essentially. So that was funny too. rebelnews.com/Andrew_says or the show tab there. Eric Butler, any final words for our audience who's listened to us talk about Geraldo, school shootings, and Conor McGregor?
No, shout out Chandler Crump. I did met him once in DC. Seems like a chill kid, and obviously buy the book. That's
Buy
it.
my book.
Yep, that's it.
All right, I just had to go end it on
All
Getter
right.
there.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna try. It's just such a pain in my ass, dude. Like Instagram, Getter, Twitter. I like go to Getter, and I think because I think Tatum Report's tagging me, so I'm like getting followers, and I'm like, there's nothing there. I don't have my brain doesn't work in Twitter in that. I don't have like these. I don't know. You're supposed to have like zingers, one liners. You post links. I don't even know like what you do there. Like my social media game is limited
Zingers.
to Instagram, unfortunately, and like actual photos and tracking. I guess you could totally track like London Breed and Gavin Newsom and De Blasio.